Welcome to the Touch MBA Admissions Podcast. Do you need help figuring out which schools to apply to or how to get into the world's top MBA programs? Hey, you're not alone. Join thousands of others on this podcast and on our site, touchmba.com, as they seek the admissions edge. And now, here's your host, Darren Joe.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Touch MBA podcast. This week I brought on Sabine Noe, who's the Director of Recruitment and Admissions for the MBA program at WHU Otto Beisheim School of Management, based in Dusseldorf, Germany. This program is Germany's top-ranked MBA program, at least by the Financial Times last year, and it offers a really personalized learning experience, which I hope you'll learn more about in this episode. And one reason I love to host the show is to learn more about programs such as WHU's program. So I hope you enjoy my conversation with Sabine. She also shares a lot of great tips on how you can really improve your chances of getting in to WHU or any top MBA program. If you need help with school selection, do go to touchmba.com. We offer free school selection help there. You just upload your profile, your test scores, your career goals, what you're interested in, and we can offer you some suggestions, which programs we think fit you best, where you're competitive, and how you can improve your profile. All that is for free at touchmba.com. And now let's get to my conversation with Sabine. Here we go. Sabine Noe is the Director of Recruitment and Admissions for the MBA program at the WHU Otto Beisheim School of Management. I hope I said that correctly.
Perfect.
Sabine, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Darren. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes. So the first question I ask every program is simply, what makes the WHU MBA unique from all the other top MBA programs?
Yeah, it's a great question. What I personally really love about WHU is that we're a small but at the same time excellent business school. So just to give an example of what kind of numbers we're talking, so our full-time MBA last intake in September just had 45 students and over 20 different nationalities. So it's a really small program. That means there's just a very unique blend of students and nationalities, but we do know every single student's names and background. I think that's quite special. That's what I really love about it, because you not just meet students in the admissions process and then you never get to see them again, but you will really constantly accompanying them and really know them. I think that really makes a big difference. And it not just ends with such a one-to-one recruitment or admissions phase, but it really continues throughout the program. So the students really always have one-to-one leadership coaching, one-to-one career coaching. So it's a very, very dedicated, very small program. I think that's where the students really get the most out of it. And I think that's pretty exciting. And I would say overall, the organizational, let's say, culture of WHU is somewhat characterized by courage, commitment, innovation, excellence, but also somewhat a commitment to society. And I think that's what we typically call the WHU spirit. And I would say you can really, really feel it when you're on campus.
All right. So I'm pronouncing it wrong. It's not WHU.
It's the English pronunciation, which is totally fine, but we usually pronounce it in a German way, which is also cool. So we would say WHU.
WHU. All right. I want to practice this.
Okay.
WHU.
Let's say
WHU. This is good.
Exactly. Cool. Yeah. Perfect.
So, can you tell me a bit more about WHU's history as a university for someone who has never been to Germany, right? What is its reputation and its history within the country?
So what's kind of interesting probably for the US-based audience is that these kind of business schools and universities in Germany are very, very young. So WHU was founded in 1984, which for some of the US-based schools who have a history of hundreds of years might sound really, really, really young. And this is just the case for most of the European schools. But of course, we are really proud that we have achieved a lot in this very short period of time. And academically, or let's say, reputation-wise, of course, rankings typically is the one thing that a lot of people look for, and it's, I think, mostly what reputation is being measured, I would say. So across all of our degree programs, for example, the Master in Finance, Master in Management, Executive MBA, Full-Time MBA, we've been ranked number one in Germany, which we're quite proud of. Currently for the Full-Time MBA, we are number one in Germany, which is pretty cool. 14 in Europe, 54 worldwide. And I think for such a young university, this is quite a great achievement in all humbleness, of course. Apart from that, accreditations play a role. So I think this is also the case for most of your listeners. They will probably look for different kinds of accreditations. So WHU is triple accredited. So we have the US accreditation, the main ASCSB accreditation. Then there's a European accreditation, which is called EFMD Equis, and we have a national accreditation. So this basically got us covered. Apart from that, for such a young university, also our the professors and let's say the staff itself, it's just, like I said, a small university. That also means we are very proud that we are the only private business school that is part of the German Research Foundation. So this is very, very important to us. So really excellence in research, in management, in economics, and business administration. This is definitely something I would like to mention in this regard when it comes to academia. So there's been a lot like public star publications, best teacher and best awards, review awards, those kind of things. So yes, that's what we've achieved in this very short amount of time since 1984, and we keep going.
Amazing. So, I mean, would you say that economics is where the WHU really stands out?
Yeah, like business, the discipline? Economics, management. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Got it. And I noticed that your program actually has two different intakes in April and September. And I'm wondering, if our listeners should know if they differ in any way in terms of size or in terms of focus.
They're the same. It has just a couple of advantages for both our students as well as us. So instead of having one big intake, which is the usual case for, I think, 90% of all business schools, I guess, the fall intake, we actually prefer to have the two intakes because then we can really have a smaller class size. So instead of having, 100 students in one intake, we just prefer to have, 50 in both two intakes per year. So we can just make sure that we can dedicate a lot of time to them. And for them, it also has, of course, the advantage that they really are in a small class and can get a lot of attention also with regards to career services. And I think, like I said, when it comes to one-to-one coaching and one-to-one sessions, this just takes up a lot of time, and it's just so much easier and better for the students if it's just a very small group. So we started two intakes a couple of years ago, and it's been proven very well. It functions good. It works well.
Great. And then you also have two campuses, right? And so the full-time MBA courses held in Dusseldorf? Please correct my pronunciation. Yeah. This is like a German.
Dusseldorf.
Okay.
Perfectly fine. So if I don't say anything, you can assume it's a perfect pronunciation. So yes, we do actually have two campuses. Our main campus where the university also was founded is Fallenda. This is where our undergrad studies take place. So bachelor and master studies. And then 10 years ago, we inaugurated our Düsseldorf campus, the second one, and this is where our MBA programs take place, as well as the executive education. So this is pretty much our MBA-only campus when it comes to the degree programs. Yeah, exactly.
And could you sort of paint a picture of what the student life is like? Do they live on campus? Do they live close to campus? And what is that experience like?
Most students actually live close to campus. We don't have any dorms or housing because our MBA students on average, that they are 30 somewhat years, so they might not just prefer this dorm experience like in the undergrads, but most of them live very close to campus. Düsseldorf, the cool thing about Düsseldorf is that it's a rather large city in Germany. However, it's still small enough that you can really be anywhere in really a short amount of time. So there's a lot of expat community, so everybody speaks English. There's a lot of things going on for international students. it has like the third largest international airport. That makes pretty cool because students can just fly in and out very easily. In Europe, everything is very close anyway, which is super exciting for the international students because they can really take the time to travel around, which is cool. And of course, one of the main reasons why most of our students do an MBA is because they want to change their career in some direction. They either want to found a company, they really are career seekers, career changers. And Düsseldorf holds a lot of big multinational companies. That means, of course, it's very, very easy for our international students to get in touch with the companies, for the companies to be in touch with students, to come to campus. So this is just a good match for those international students who would like to advance their career in Germany. It's a good place to start.
I mean, what is Düsseldorf known for within Germany? Like, what is its reputation as a city?
Yeah, so Düsseldorf is actually the capital of the federal state. So we have like 16 federal states, and Düsseldorf is the capital of one of the biggest ones. So it's really known as a big industry hub. And also like with these big airport, it's just like in the heart of Europe, you can almost say. So it really is a cool place to start. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Sabine, I know you've been with the program for a while, and I'm sure you've gone out and done talks and seminars and these sort of things. Is there anything about the program itself that you just wish more candidates knew about?
Yeah, a couple of things, but I can maybe just mention two. First of all, German language. This is something I do get a lot from international applicants, and I think this is, of course, a natural question. I get it. So German, of course, is not required to study at WHU. Of course, everything is in English only. And also really advancing your career in Germany is definitely also possible when you're an English-speaking individual. So there, especially in Düsseldorf, but also in other cities in Germany, there's a lot of job opportunities for internationals. There are some very, very distinct industries where German is required, like client-facing, consulting, those kind of things, finance. But apart from that, there's a lot of job opportunities for internationals. And of course, we have German language courses on campus for free, and students can really learn German. Most of them do, because it just is, of course, a good way if you want to live in a country to just learn a little bit of the language. But it's very, very easy for internationals actually to stay. I think that's one of the things I would love more people would know about. And the other thing is, I just mentioned the values of WHU, and that's very much also social commitment. And this is something that I also would like to highlight in this regard, because that's very, very important to us. We just don't want to have just the students that just do the MBA to really, earn a lot of money afterwards. Yes, this will come as well, but it's really also that they have an impact as a leader in the future, and they should really be aware of their impact. And so this is something that's quite important. And we have dedicated the very, very first week of the program to this matter. It's called Future Leaders Fundraising Challenge. It's a pretty cool start. It's actually one of my favorites, so I have to mention it here. I really love it. We just had it like 2 weeks ago, so it's really fresh in my mind again. So students are split into different kind of groups, and it's it's a leadership challenge. So every day another group member takes the lead, and they really have to develop a product or really have a real business challenge. And the aim is to raise funds, and it's typically for a charitable organization like Save the Children. So students really are thrown into a leadership challenge. They really have to be leaders. They have to make decisions. It's really hands-on, and it's for a good cause. And I think this really combined makes it pretty cool. And I love to mention this to any interested candidates, because it's just a great beginning to such an intense journey. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about social commitment, and I love that you highlighted that, does that mean you're explicitly looking for evidence of someone's impact in their community? Or, could you dive a little deeper on what you mean by social commitment?
Yeah, that could be one of the things we're looking into. So, of course, just being a leader doesn't mean just leading an organization or leading a group. It's really like having a responsibility, and really being aware of the responsibility. And students or applicants can demonstrate that in various ways, of course, but it's just they just need to have a sense for that. And we will ask that, for example, perhaps in an interview, or we will just see if this is just a fit to what we're looking for. It's just like a cultural fit. And this will definitely be the main first part of the program, the first week. And of course, it will also really be in future parts of the program and the parts that will come afterwards as well. So this, of course, it's important.
Yeah. Let's just jump into the admissions discussion, right? Like what are the other fit qualities you're looking for as well?
I would say in general, it's always about you know that as well, but it's also a holistic view on an individual. So how the individual complements the group and what the individual strengths of an applicant are that they could bring into the program. That's, I think, one of the main things that I can say in this regard. I mean, of course, we want to have diversity, as all programs want to have diversity in terms of nationalities, in terms of academic and professional backgrounds. Of course, that's one part as well. But of course, it always needs to be a personal fit. So really, what goals the candidate has in terms of career, in terms of further development, in terms of personal development, and if those goals actually align with what we're offering. I think that's the most important part. There are a lot of excellent programs out there. We all know that, and also a lot of excellent students, but really finding the matches, I think, is what it's all about, in my opinion. What I feel is that for us at WHU, students need to be team players. That's one of the most important parts. And this is also something that I will really talk about in the admissions interviews as well, and my colleagues too, because it's a collaborative MBA that might be different for other MBA programs, but for us, it's definitely a collaborative MBA, leveraging the different skill sets of all of the students is something that we will do a lot in different group works and case studies. So this will be also an integral part of a candidate fit, in my opinion. And of course, also being open to really learning about themselves. We have quite a dedicated leadership journey. So really, like I said, I mentioned it several times, one-to-one coachings. It starts also with like a personality profile test with the students. So of course, students, I think that's one of the most actually difficult parts, to really see your own blind spots and really work on your weaknesses in front of others. I think that's probably even more difficult than just learning how to lead a difficult team, or leading yourself, I think, is the most integral part. And this is something that students need to be open for. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. And so my next question, of course, is like, how can applicants show these qualities in, a few essays, in one interview, and one recommendation that you guys require, right? That's a lot to squeeze in. Do you have any tips there?
Exactly. Definitely. So of course, although we all require some essay portion or some sort of thing, every business school, I think, has some specialties. So for us, it's an MBA questionnaire. We really don't like essays too much. People write too much and nobody cares to read. So it's maybe a German stereotype. Parents I really have to bring it up here. But the German efficiency here really comes through. So it's rather really a questionnaire that we have, and really specific questions that we would like candidates to answer. And yeah, one of the main recommendations or tips that I have is really, really speaking with the universities or business schools before, really understanding what they're looking for, and really aligning it with what they're offering. So sometimes, of course, I get it. Applicants apply to various business schools, and it's very convenient, of course, to just use a quite generic reply, because it will at some point fit at a very at another level to most business schools, but really diving into what a particular business school is looking for, and how an applicant can actually really, really, really fit to that particular business school. I think this is really where you can tell if it's a generic reply for many business schools, or if it's just a reply that is really targeted towards your own program. And I think candidates should really, really take the time to speak with alumni, to speak with students, to really get in touch with the program, to understand that, and really then they have to really adapt their essay portions and their application. And an experienced admissions manager can tell that's definitely the case. And just candidates should just be authentic. It doesn't really help if you just write something about a person that's not you in the end. So really, this is something we can sense as well at least in the interview, we can tell. So really being authentic is, I think, one of the major recommendations I have. It might sound trivial, but it's really, really important, because this is really where it comes down to finding a good fit. And it's also in the interest of the candidate, because they also want to find a good university, a good fit. So it doesn't help if they just provide generic infos, if they don't do real research, if they just write something that might not really be them.
Obviously it's tough for applicants, because they feel like they need to present a certain version of themselves that will give them the best chance, right, of getting in. And many of their minds, it's often like a list of accomplishments. That's often the first way.
That's
but
right.
I think, and let me share my thoughts, and I'd love to hear yours, but to me, authenticity comes through in the words and the interview process and in the recommendations where the person seems really grounded. I don't know. That's the word that actually comes to mind when I think of authentic, because that's a tricky word, isn't it? Right? Like,
that's correct.
Yeah.
That's right. But when we're talking about personal development, it's always also about failures, about how to get better, about past experiences. Yeah. And this is something that I would love to hear about, if not in an essay portion, then at least in an interview portion, because really seeing that a candidate is able to reflect on what he or she has been achieved or not achieved, I think that's a great portion of being authentic, because it will tell me as a director of admissions that this is a candidate that will hopefully successfully undergo this personal development and leadership part, because that's what it's about, really learning about yourself and being open also to really let others learn from your past experiences and weaknesses as well. And it's super difficult. That's why I said it's the most difficult part. But if somebody applies to such a program where this is such a huge part, I would at least expect that they would somehow let this be known in the essay portion or something like that, just to give me a hint that they understood that this is going to be the case with our program, and they really would love to dive into that.
Such a great tip. And can we talk about your interview process? Like, who conducts those interviews? What types of questions are asked, Yeah.
So we have an admissions committee. It consists of the admissions managers, the recruiters, the directors, and depending on availability, there's always going to be typically 2 people from the admissions committee that conducts the interviews. It's usually 1 interview with us. I know that be different for other schools. For us, it's 1 interview, and it's really it's getting to know the person behind the application. So of course, we have seen all the documents, we've read all the essays. It's really about clarifying what they've written, and also sometimes asking about really quite specific situations they were, and somehow aligning this to our program. So for example, like I said, we want people who are team players, so we will definitely ask about the past experiences working in teams. We want to create future leaders, so perhaps the students or the applicants already have some sort of experience in that, or they can at least let us know what good leadership means to them, or maybe they have also bad examples. So it's really also a lot about reflection, and we just want to get to know the applicant better by just asking questions about how they react in different situations, just to get a feel for them.
Yeah, I think you dropped a lot of good hints there. So, listeners, you should come prepared with some stories.
Yeah, everybody should jot that down, and then it's going to be a little bit easier.
That's right. And then in terms of the academic requirements, do you have any sort of minimums when it comes to GMATs or GPAs?
Yeah, so like I said, holistic is always going to be something that we're looking into. However, from the formal criteria, we always would at least need 2 years of work experience. That's a minimum for us. In terms of GMAT, we recommend a GMAT score of 600 or higher, but we will always take into account the applicant's profile as a whole. So this is it's the whole package. So this is only the 2 years of first degree, apparently, of course, 2 years of work experience, and then letter of recommendation, GMAT, English test, or other proof of English, of course. And this is it.
Okay. I mean, while you were answering that, I was actually looking at your questionnaire because you made me very curious with the whole German efficiency thing. So just a quick question on that, because, you're very direct about, for example, the first question, what are your reasons, both professional and personal, for applying for an MBA program? What are the skills and key competencies you would like to develop when studying at WHU? So, I mean, is it okay if they answer in bullet points? You don't need an essay here, right?
Yeah, it really depends on the applicant's
That's
style
great,
of answering
actually.
this.
Interesting.
So it's very open. There's no word limit. This is a question we get a lot. So we always want to leave it open, because there are different people who really like to elaborate and really extend their answers, and people who like to keep it short. Also, depending on their work experience, they might have to tell us more or not as much. And I think that's pretty fine. And as long as we get what the applicant is about, and I think also bullet points can also tell us
Yes.
something about a person. I think that's totally fair, actually, to allow that.
Exactly. Okay, great. I mean, is there anything else we didn't cover? Anything else you'd like to say about the admissions process? Maybe that you notice from applicants. Like any last tips there?
Yeah, of course. As most business schools, we have a rolling admissions, so this is probably not really news to your listeners. But being early is definitely advisable. So really, be early, because this will just enhance chances of getting admission, because it's always a rolling admissions process. And then, of course, seats are going to be taken. And remember, it's just like 50 students on average, if at all. So this is just something I would love to let your listeners know at this point, because it's just important.
Absolutely. And there's also, you also encourage the international students to apply earlier, right? Because of visa.
Exactly.
reasons.
They always take, they take some time for the visa. So you would always recommend them to apply at best a year in advance. That would be ideal.
Yeah. And then how long does it take to get a decision back?
Oh, we're pretty fast, I would say. So from submission of the application, again, I won't say it, but from the submission of the application until a final feedback, it will take us, 4 or 5 weeks.
Oh, that's very quick.
Yeah. So we process applications once they're submitted directly. So it will take us maybe a week to really process applications, see and check whether everything is complete, whether we have any questions, and then we will just invite the applicant to an interview. And after the interview, we typically come to a decision within 10 days. Yeah, usually. So very fast. People don't have to wait too long, and this can be nerve-wracking, I know.
Yes.
So it's always nice to know that there's going to be a feedback soon.
Great. And then when it comes to scholarships, can you, tell us a bit about your admissions philosophy, how you use scholarships, and what applicants need to know about improving their chances? Yeah.
In general, I would say scholarships are a great way of really acknowledging a candidate's achievements, and it, of course, helps them finance part of the tuition. At WHU, we award partial scholarships only, and typically we award them merit and need based. So we have different kinds of scholarship forms. For example, a women in business scholarship, an entrepreneur scholarship, a developing country scholarship, and these scholarship forms really reflect the groups that we would like to be represented in the program. All candidates can only choose one scholarship form, so really they have to select the one they feel fits their profile best. And of course, they could be represented in more than one of the scholarship. It really comes down to what they feel they can really let us know. If, of course, it could be a female, it could be someone from a developing country, or it could be an entrepreneur, and then it's really up to them where they feel they can write the most. And usually, what I would always recommend is that candidates apply at the same time for a scholarship as they apply for a seat in the program, because this way we can just process everything in one run. So when we will let them know whether they're accepted to the program or not, we will at the same time inform them about the scholarship, which is always nice, because of course finances are a huge part of an MBA decision as well. So they don't have to wait for a scholarship announcement. It's usually going to be at the same time if they apply at the same time as well. But I would encourage that, because it just makes all of our lives easier. So again, we're trying to be very efficient here.
Yeah. And, in terms of winning those scholarships, like, because I know you mentioned you have that holistic process, right? But are you looking at, could you give us some ideas of the criteria you're looking at here?
So we have always open questions in our scholarship forms. And again, candidates can really answer that in many different ways, which makes it quite exciting, because like I said, people are different and people will answer it very differently. It's really then it really will be added to the holistic view of the application documents and the interview. So everything will play a role. So we will always decide that as a package. But it's not like a specific thing or specific criteria that we would just check, but it's really like I said, merit and need based. So we will always balance this a little bit.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I mean, would you mind talking a bit more about the need-based scholarship? Because that's actually something I don't hear much about.
Yes, of course. So, of course, we would always like to encourage also candidates from different regions of the world where there might be other socioeconomic standards at the moment. For example, this is just one of the examples. So, of course, someone can really apply for such a scholarship. If there's partial scholarship, we will acknowledge that accordingly. And the cool thing is we have pretty much candidates and also students from literally every continent. And this is, we like it that way. And we would like to, encourage those students as well. And tuition in Europe, I mean, you probably know that, but tuition in Europe is definitely something different than tuition in the US when it comes to an MBA program. So in Europe, we're a little bit more affordable, I would say, when it comes to tuition. So this is also, of course, helpful.
Yeah.
International students are looking into that. So
let's go there because, I mean, at least this year, your tuition is 40,500 euros, right?
That's correct. Right.
And you made this note, and I appreciate the note, that cost includes all books and materials, accommodation during 3 international trips to the US, India, and China, which is, pretty significant cost, I could imagine. Do the students have to pay for, well, I don't know why, they have to pay for their flights, right? But
exactly, and visa costs.
And visa costs, but at least, let's get that out in front. But and you guys also have tuition discounts for applying earlier.
That's correct. Yes, there are early bird discounts that can be combined with a partial scholarship. So this is always nice. Again, if you're early, you can not only benefit from the early rolling admissions part, but also from the early bird discount, and then apply for a scholarship. And then it will definitely get a lot easier, I would say, to really study an MBA in Germany.
Yeah, I mean I love that. So I hope our listeners take advantage of that for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we could talk about the careers. So you mentioned that it's okay, you'd prefer your students to learn German, and some jobs require the German language, obviously, in Germany. But I saw that 75% of your students are actually staying, right?
Yeah.
Post MBA.
Yes, definitely. At least sometimes even more, most of them. Yeah.
Amazing. So could you talk a bit about kind of first where your students usually go? Well, actually, I have a specific question there. I saw that 40%, at least last year, went into tech startups, which was really stood out, in my opinion. Is that normal, or was that kind of an aberration from the trends that you guys have?
It's definitely a trend. It's also a pandemic trend, apparently. So, of course, different industries have reacted differently to the pandemic. Tech industry was definitely an industry that was thriving. For example, automotive was really, or tourism, that it's nothing new. But our students always used to go into the tech industry as well. So this is something that we've seen in the past years, but last year was definitely also extreme due to the pandemic. In general, I mean, what makes it career-wise very, very easy, this is something I would like to mention as well, is that Germany makes it very easy for the internationals to stay. So all of the international students, they get up to 18-month job seekers visa.
Wow.
So this makes it, of course, compared to other countries, not naming anyone, makes it very, very easy to actually stay. And this is also one of the reasons, of course, why we're having so many international students, because Germany is the strongest economy in Europe. It's a high standard of living. It's safe. So it's quite attractive for internationals. So they just want to pursue a career here. And this is also, of course, one of the reasons why it's easy to pursue a career in Germany. Other than that, the Career Center, like I said, has quite a very distinctive approach. They call it the Triple M career roadmap. The first M is for me. That means students have to get to know themselves, their strengths, their interests, their values. This will determine the leadership style, but that's maybe a different question at this point. But this will also determine what kind of industries might be a good fit for them, actually. Not everybody is like consultant, not everybody needs to work in a cool small startup scene, not everybody is like a big corporate guy. So really understanding who the students are and what their needs are is really crucial, and that's the me part. Second M, it's an M roadmap, it's market. Understanding then the market. What are the market requirements? How to enter certain positions and markets, what are the requirements, how to prepare. So they're going to have CV check trainings, mock interview trainings. They really understand where they're applying to. And the third M is match me and the market. That really means the students, of course, meet a lot of companies on campus or virtually for company presentations, career fairs. The companies, on the other hand, receive the student CV books, so they can also browse through our students and get in touch. So we really open all of the doors that can be opened so the students can find jobs here in Germany across different industries. So we do not just focus on tech or something else. It's a general management MBA. That means general management typically opens a lot of different doors, and it really depends on your previous profile and, of course, your goals. So it's always going to be very, very different industries and companies. Also positions within industries are very different. And yeah, like I said, the pandemic, of course, has shifted some of the different kinds of industries and how they are perceived and offered. But in general, it's across industries. And like I said, students have a lot of one-to-one contact with their career coaches, so they can really individually discuss and get alumni contacts from alumni who work in those industries or for a specific company or in a specific position. So they really know how to prepare and how to get there. And I think that's one of the reasons why so many actually stay in Germany afterwards. Yes, and this is quite a cool approach, I would say. Quite unique also. I haven't seen that in any other university yet.
Yeah,
Could be different from now on.
On that note, how active are the alumni in the program, and how are the students able to interact with, I believe you have over 5,000, right? Over 5,000
Yes,
alumni.
exactly. So alumni, of course, the alumni network is pretty strong. Since it's just such a small university, everybody knows each other. It can't be any other way. It's just like it is. Alumni, of course, also visit the Career Center. They have alumni presentations. The students can be part of the alumni network also during their studies as well, which is always a great way to connect already, even during the studies. And of course, during the admissions and recruitment phase, we always look for an individual contact. So we always look for a contact, alumni or student contact with the same background, with the same goal.
Nice. Yeah.
Same nationality. So this also takes quite some time, but for such a small group, it really makes sense so that they can connect even before they start the program and that they really know what to expect. So alumni really play a huge role in different, in the entire life cycle, let's put it like this. And afterwards, of course, there's alumni homecomings. There's different chapters really across the entire world. Back when I used to travel a lot for recruitment.
The good old days.
The good old days. I really went everywhere, and there was always an alumni chapter, and I had German beer in Shanghai with a WHU master's alumni. I vividly remember that, or met alumni in Rio or anywhere else. So it's quite an international alumni portion as well. But of course, also a lot of them are in Germany, apparently. It's a German business school. So it's quite strong, I would say. And this spirit thing that I mentioned at the very beginning, you can really feel that in the alumni portion as well. But it's, as you just said, it's just 5,000. That's pretty much nothing compared to the huge schools in the US. So you can really see that it's just very small and dedicated, and everybody knows each other. So they, of course, want to give back. They know each other, and you can't just not respond, because with such a small class and such a small alumni portion, you will always get a contact. I think that's very important for you.
Yeah. And so is there an internship portion to your program?
There can be an internship. So if students would like to really do an internship, they can do that with a company and write their master thesis as a project-based thesis. This is how we're doing it. But some students don't need an internship. Some students just get their full-time jobs right away. So this is an option. And of course, for international students who might not have worked in Germany yet, who don't know the German work culture, or might just want to get a glimpse into a very specific company, this is, of course, a great way of doing so. It is definitely an option.
Is there a preference for a certain international profile in Germany when it comes to, say, like age? I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. Or is it more about, what that person can bring to the company? It's a long-winded way of asking, is there anything international students should know about, recruiting in Germany as international students, right? If, say, they've never lived there before.
I mean, in general, they will really be informed by the Career Center on everything. It really comes down to the position, I would say. Of course, age or seniority might play a role in certain kind of leadership position at some point, not necessarily age, but really like the experience. But other than that, the company contacts that we have, they would always bring positions for young professionals to the regular MBA range, which is at least 2 years, and then usually up to 7, 8, 9 years. Average is 5. So these would be the positions that students get into. And then it really depends on whether they are career advancers or really want to change their career entirely and what their previous profile is to really see, okay, what makes sense and what do you need to consider. But this is something they would then discuss with the career counselor at the school. And this is where they can be advised on what makes sense, how to apply, and is this realistic? Is their plan realistic? I mean, we talk about that in the admissions process already, but then, of course, it will really come into play again in those coaching sessions. And there's always going to be plan A and the plan B and plan C. So they will not only just focus on one option, but typically they will really be advised to different options and can really see what makes sense and what works out.
And do the April and September intakes interact?
Of course, yeah. Definitely.
So they see each other, and then one intake is ahead of the other.
Exactly. The cool thing is when the other intake starts, and for example, this Future Leaders Fundraising Challenge takes place, the previous MBAs are mentors for the new students, for example. Yeah. There's a buddy system, of course, in place that connects them, and we mix them also alongside different international modules when we used to go there. So there's a lot of interaction. It's such a small campus, and these very few students, they know each other, definitely.
This has been a great talk, Sabine. I feel like I know much more now about your program, and I'm sure our listeners will as well. The last question I want to ask you about is, you keep mentioning this spirit aspect, that this sort of small-knit, close-knit, however you want to call it, smaller program. The bonds are really strong. Everyone knows everyone. How can our listeners experience that or get a feel of that spirit?
It's a great question there, and really I was hoping for that. There's various ways. So of course, if you really would like to experience a lecture as one of your listeners, you can just get in touch with my team and I. We host virtual class visits, for example, very regularly on campus as well as online. So especially for the international listeners, it will definitely make sense to really attend such a virtual class visit. And of course, we are always happy to really discuss your MBA plans and then get you in touch, like I said, with a specific contact that really had the same goal, achieved the same goal, has a similar background. We will always try our best to really match you with somebody or with multiple students or alumni. And I think really experience it yourself, listening to professors and the class, and really speaking with an actual student or alumni is the best way of experiencing, getting a feel for whether the program is the right fit. And I would encourage everybody to really get in touch with us, because we are very, very happy to really accommodate and really make it happen, that you can visit a class, that you can speak with a student or alumni. And it's very handmade what we do here still. So don't be shy.
I think that's a great word, handmade. Perfect place to end the conversation. Thank you very much, Sabine, for coming on the show and sharing your experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Darren. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the Touch MBA podcast. Remember, you can get free school selection help and a profile review at touchmba.com. You can also follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter. Just search for Touch MBA.